it's really so built into society that you have to go to school, you have to study. Yeah, it's kind of sad because I think sport teaches you so much. You learn so many life skills on different levels. I felt like it was the right thing to do for me, and I would wish that society moves to a point, especially in Switzerland, where sport is regarded as a career option.
Joining us in the studio today is a Swiss cyclist who currently rides for Trek Factory Racing. At the age of 6, she competed in and won her first ever mountain bike race. She went on to win numerous World Cup and World Championship titles. Most recently, she was the gold medal winner in the women's cross-country cycling event at the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo. Please welcome to the show, Jolanda Neff. Jolanda, great to see you.
Good morning. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, it's so great to have you on the show. I've been looking forward to this episode for quite a while. Jolanda, where are you in the world today? Where are we talking to you from?
Currently, I'm in North Carolina, very close to Asheville. This is where Luca Shaw lives, my boyfriend, so I stay with him at the moment. And yeah, the riding is great here. I really enjoy being here. There's such a variety of trails and bike parks, and the weather is awesome. So yeah, that's where I am at the moment.
Awesome. How long will you stay in the United States before going back to Europe or Switzerland?
So in a couple weeks, we already have a team camp with Trek Factory Racing, but luckily that will also be in the United States. I'm very excited for that camp coming up. So
Nice.
once that camp is done, I will come back here and then stay a couple more weeks and also spend Christmas here. And after Christmas, I will go back home. Go back to Switzerland. I say I'm going from one home to the other home.
Nice. Yeah, you've kind of made North Carolina your second home, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I probably this year I'm spending more time here than I am spending time in Switzerland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just because I'm traveling so much throughout the year with all the races and training camps, and I was already gone all of January in a training camp. Then I was gone in February, gone in like I was just gone all the time. And now that the season is done, I'm here. So I'm pretty sure I spent more time here than in Switzerland this year.
That's the life of a World Cup racer.
Yeah, I mean, I spend every free day that I get between the season, I spend at home, and I would still say Switzerland for sure is my home. But yeah, it's just the way it worked out this year is that I'm here now for a little while.
Yeah. Well, say hi to Luca for me. We hung out quite a bit at one of his prior teams. Jolanda, let's start from the basics, just for the listeners that are joining us today that might not know a lot about you. Tell us, where were you born, and what did your parents do when you were growing up?
I was born in Switzerland in the region of St. Gallen, if that means something to any listeners, which is about an hour from Zurich. It's very close to the border of Austria and Germany. And it's also about an hour 20 from Lenzerheide, where we have the World Cup. So yeah, that's where I was born and where I grew up. And my dad was into cycling. He did road cycling when he was young. He was racing on the road. So that's what got me into cycling, because when I was born, he was still riding bikes and loving it. And he started racing mountain bikes in the early 90s, so before I was born. And then when I was born, it was basically just straight onto the mountain bike. We just went to a lot of races with the whole family. I have a younger brother and an older sister, and together with my mom and my dad, we would just go to the races that my dad was racing at. And whenever there was a kids race, we just took part in it. And yeah, so my first race was at 6 years old. It was not that we were going because of me. It was just we were there because my dad was racing. And then my sister and I took part in that race. My brother was still too young for to be able to race. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. And we just spent a lot of time in the nature with our family. We were very active. We did a lot of skiing, snowboarding, hiking, cycling. Yeah, we were always outdoors, playing around, with my brother and sister, and yeah, with my parents too. So I had a great childhood, and I have so many incredible memories.
That's amazing. You said that your brother was too young to compete in that race, but you were just 6 years old when you won that race. So I would think that even 6 years old would be too young to race. But how old was he at the time?
He was probably 4, so he's like 2 years younger than I am, and my
Yeah,
sister was 7, I guess. So usually you can race, I think, at the age of 7 is when you have a real category. But I was like maybe like 1 year too young to race, but that was okay. Like I could ride a bike, so it was
they
fine.
still let you.
Yeah, no, that was cool. Yeah, my sister and I are close in age, so we did whenever we were kids, we would always both of us would race, and then my brother started a bit later.
Right, right. Was your father a professional cyclist? Did he compete on a professional road team?
Well, back in the days, it was like they had like two different levels of racing on the road. There was the pros and the amateurs. And the Olympics, only the amateurs could go, not the pros, but the pros was the higher level. So, anyways, he was like, at one point, he was a full-time cyclist, like it was his job and his profession, and he got paid for it, but he was only ever on the amateur level. He was not on the pro tour.
Yeah.
So he did tour of Austria, and he went to Mexico for a 3-week stage race on the road, and he did a lot of really great races, but not the Tour de France.
Yeah, amazing. And your mom stayed at home and raised the family and kept everyone, with everything that they needed.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we were born, he was not racing on the road anymore. That was before our time. So once we were born, he was already only racing mountain bikes and was into mountain biking. So I would say we still had a lot of family time, all of us together. But yeah, my mom was very active as well when she was young. She did a lot of sports. She did gymnastics when she was young, and she did running and horse riding and shooting, and she did everything.
Wow.
So
Wow.
she's yeah, she's very good with a lot of different sports, and still now she's a Pilates teacher.
Oh,
So she has
wow.
her own studio, and yeah, whenever I'm home, I go there, and I really, really enjoy it because she loves it, and you can feel how much she loves it. So I would say we just have a very active family, and yeah, for sure, my mom did the bigger part of raising us, but I have a lot of memories of us, the 5 of us, as a family.
Yeah. And now what does your brother and sister do now today?
So they both still ride bikes, and really enjoy it a lot. They love to ride bikes, but they both work a full-time job that has nothing to do with mountain biking. So my brother is a carpenter, and my sister works in the hospital in the laboratory. She did a lot of COVID test analysis in the
Yeah, I'm
past
sure.
year. So yeah, but yeah, they both ride, and I honestly I ride a lot with them when I am home. I say once a week at least I ride with my brother, and once a week with my sister. So
Oh,
that's
that's
super nice.
great.
Yeah, and I ride with my mom too, and I ride with my dad too. They all ride bikes, and I, depending on what intensity I need on the day, I choose my riding partner. And if I want a recovery ride, I go with my mom, and it's perfect. And if I want to kill myself on the bike, I go with my dad.
That is awesome. What a great, great community you've built with your family. I mean, to have that friendship and support and family in all various, aspects of the sport. What an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's great, and it's just so nice to share that and to ride together. It's such a fun way to, yeah, I guess, to spend time together. I really love it, and it means a lot to me to, yeah, to be able to ride with all of them.
So staying for a moment in your early years, so you were into sports, you were into cycling, you were very active. Did you ever think as a child, hey, I want to be a professional racer, or I want to go to the Olympics one day, or maybe I want to study and go to university. What were your dreams when you were little?
Yeah, so I really never ever thought that I want to be a pro racer, or I like the Olympics didn't even exist to me. We grew up without a TV, and we never even watched any. The Olympics was a word to me that I once heard, but I had zero connections to that. And
Wow.
even to be a pro racer, that was nothing. For me, it was always clear that I wanted, like, for me, it was clear that I would go to university and that I would study. And yeah, I mean, I loved riding bikes and it was like my favorite hobby, but for me, it was kind of, yeah, I was going to go to school. Yeah. And so the decisive point was probably when in 2012, a couple things happened at the same time. So that was my first year in the under 23, which is like a 4-year category where for the first time you compete against older people. Before that,
Yeah.
it's always 2 years together, the juniors. And basically, since I was 6 years old until I was 18, I always competed only with 2 years, like, so these people, I knew them perfectly, like the ones who were 1 year older than me and 1 year younger. So
Yeah.
then when you go to the under 23s, it's like the first time that you get to race against people who are 3 years older than you. Yeah. And it's like a 4-year span
Yeah.
and 2 years older than you. So then that was my first year, 2012, and I had a great year and I won the Swiss championships and the European championships and the world championships. And that was a great success. And so with that came an offer from a team, which I then signed for. So that was like a big step for me to
Yeah.
become, like, I wouldn't say that was all of it, but at the same time, what happened was that I got the offer from the Swiss Army. They have a sports program where you can join as an athlete, where you get really, really good support. And you basically live at this place for 3.5 months or even longer, for 18 weeks. You live at this place. So you couldn't study at the same time. If you're joining the army, you can't study. So that was really for me the decision. Do I now want to go study? Even though I signed for the pro team, I could have still studied. But then the decision was really, or do I want to join this army program for sports? That was kind of the decisive point for me. That was in 2012. And then I decided to do the army. I did that together with Linda Indergand, who also won a medal at the last Olympics.
Yeah.
And together with Katrin Sternemann, who is actually now our assistant national coach, which is awesome. So yeah,
So
I
great.
went. Yeah, so I went and did that, and I signed. For my first like pro team, and so I guess that was kind of when I really said yes, I want to try sports, and I want to I want to do this now.
I'm curious. So by 2012, did you guys get a television yet?
No, we never have. We still don't have. We still don't have one. We never had one. And I honestly, I'm so bad with watching TV. I can't watch TV. It's bad. You
Yeah.
cannot keep me on the sofa. I don't have a Netflix subscription or anything.
Really?
Yeah, I hardly ever watch TV. Maybe now and then I watch a small YouTube clip from something that I'm really interested in watching. And I must say, one thing that I watch is the Tour de France. I always watch a Tour de France, and I watch cycling races. That is something I love, and that's on TV. So yeah, yes. But other than bikes, I think I don't watch anything on TV.
Well, now I have to ask, what about going to the movies?
Probably maybe 5-6 times in my life.
Wow.
I mean, I would say nowadays they are not that much a thing anymore with Netflix and all that. Not so many people go to the movies maybe anymore. When I was younger, it was for sure more of a thing. But yeah, even then, that was not something I did very often.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess, a majority of your focus is sport, and so I can totally see how that can happen too.
I think it's just not something that I ever went and then came back home and was like, oh, that was the best afternoon. Like, whenever I went and rode my bike with a group of friends, that to me that was
That
a
was the
lot
best.
more fun than sitting in a chair and staring at a screen for 2 hours.
That's a
Yeah.
great perspective for sure. All right, Yolanda, we're going to switch or change gears as the show's titled a little bit and go into our sprint round where I'm going to throw a bunch of this or that at you and see what you prefer. All right, you ready?
Ready.
All right. Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tacos or burritos?
Burritos.
Spicy or mild?
Spicy.
Cold weather or hot weather?
Hot, hot, hot.
Rain or snow?
Snow.
The mountains or the beach?
The mountains.
Big cities or quiet suburbs?
Quiet countryside.
Good. Cars or trucks?
Maybe cars.
You could say sprinter vans too, I guess.
Winter, yeah, Marco Polo. That's the one I
This one should. No, yeah. Sometimes I think I know the answer to this next one, but sometimes guests fool me. So, pavement or dirt?
dirt.
Okay. I was just thinking because you also enjoy cyclocross. Well, cyclocross is on the dirt, but road cycling and, but yeah, dirt for sure.
Yeah, I enjoy both. I love both, but if I had to choose, it would be dirt.
All right. Gloves or gloveless?
Gloves.
Clipped in or flat pedals?
Clipped in.
Low pressure or high pressure in your tires?
Low pressure.
Fix it yourself or take it to a mechanic?
Take it to a mechanic.
Last one, dogs or cats?
Cats.
All right. I need to give our guests an option to add any other animal, like horses or right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but dogs and cats is a good one because I feel like a lot of people have a preference between those two. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Cool. All right. The next section we title The Climb, and this is where we sort of talk about your career. So rolling back a little bit to 2012, you start to see some success. Tell us about the journey. So you signed with you eventually signed with a professional team, and tell us about that. What did it look like? Who were they? And what were some of your achievements early on?
Yeah, so my first team was the Giant Pro team, which at that point was ranked as the number one team in the world because we had that was that my first 2 years with them, 2013 and 2014, that was like the absolute dream team. We all five of us, we always said that's the dream team and we don't want anything different. So actually that was in 2014 that it was just the five of us. In 2013 we had still more people on, but then in 2014 it was Maya Wojtowska, who is still one of my very close friends, who I absolutely admire. She's like my hero, my idol, so to be on the team together with her, it was like a dream to me. And she was just like the kindest person ever. And she was so helpful to me. And yeah, I would say still to this date, I owe her a lot. Like I could learn so much from her, and I wouldn't have had the same success without her for sure.
Yeah.
And the very important key part of that team was also our team manager, which was Leo van Zeeland. He really created that atmosphere that we all were such a tight knit group, like a family. So it was Maya Wojtowska, and then it was from Poland. Then it was Fabian Giger from Switzerland. It was Emil Lindgren from Sweden, and it was Michiel van der Heijden from the Netherlands. And in the first year, it was also Henk-Jaap Morlaag, also from the Netherlands. So like in 2014, those five of us, like 3 guys, 2 girls, yeah, we had the best season. And it was insane. Like all 5 of us had basically their best season ever. in that year, 2014.
Amazing.
Like it was not that one of us had success and all the others were like trying to survive and tangling along. It was all 5 of us had their best season. Like Fabian Giger was world number 1 at that point in the world ranking. He was on the podium at Europeans. He had his best World Cup season. Maya had a good year too. She actually had a great year in 2013 already, where she was second in 2 World Cups and had a really good year. And then in 2014, I won the World Championships in the under 23, and Michiel did as well in the under 23. So we won both those classes.
So amazing.
Yeah, and I won the overall World Cup in the elite as like the youngest one ever to win it. I was 21 years old and I won 3 rounds and won the overall. I won it already with less than a round to go, so like I wouldn't even had to race the final round, which was in France. I still remember that, and then I still won the final round. So it was an amazing year for me, the best year I've ever had, and most of all, we had so much fun, all of us. It was just like the best thing ever. So yeah, that was a fantastic start to basically my pro career.
Yeah, amazing. So tell us then, what was the evolution from there to today at Trek Factory Racing?
Yeah, so after that, unfortunately, Giant or Liv Racing decided to stop the team, which was very sad because we had such a successful season. And but yeah, they just like stepped back from racing. So we all 5 of us had to look for a new team, and we all kind of spread out in different directions. And I was at a Swiss team for 2 years at Stöckli, and then I went back to Maya's team because I missed Maya so much and missed everything about her. So, but she, in the meantime, had gone to Cross, which was a Polish team. So I then rode for Cross for 2 years and joined her on that program. And then after that, I joined Trek Factory Racing in 2019. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. 2019 or 2018?
No, 2018, I was still with Cross. I was Cross 17, 18. So 2 years Stöckli, 2 year Cross. And then 2019 onwards, I was with Trek. So now 2019, 20, 21, 22. So actually, that's the longest I've ever been on a team. Before that, it was always 2 years that I was with one team. And now with Trek, I've already been for 4 years. And yeah, it's great. It's awesome. I like the program a lot. And every year, Trek is really making big steps forward and trying to improve a lot more. And yeah, I really feel like we have good momentum and we are moving, and it's great to see.
Yeah. They're a great group. Jolanda, you have a ton of passion, a ton of energy. You have a ton of enthusiasm and excitement and talent. What keeps you motivated to continue to succeed on the bike?
Most of all, I just love to ride my bike. It's just something I really, really enjoy doing. Whenever I go for a training ride, I come back home, and not even come back home, but already during the ride, I'm just like so stoked. It's so much fun and I love it. And even if I wouldn't be racing, I would still be riding my bike. And I really hope that once I stop racing, I can keep riding my bike for as long as it's humanly possible. That's my dream, to just like stay, keep having fun, stay on a bike, stay fit, stay healthy. I take so much pleasure from riding my bike. So yeah, it kind of comes naturally that I race, I guess, because I ride my bike anyways, maybe. Or like, of course, I like now race and train, so I train and ride my bike. But yeah, I really enjoy riding my bike, and that's what I love about it. And then whatever results follow from that, that's fantastic and that's great. But like the step number 1 to me is that I really enjoy and love to ride my bike.
Yeah, that's great. Throughout your career, you've traveled all over the world. You've competed in tons of races. Inevitably, stuff happens, right? Have you had any close calls or accidents on the road or on a mountain bike, or any close calls that are noteworthy?
Yeah, for sure. I've had a couple, but I guess it's almost normal in a way. Like, yeah, you every now and then you crash or you break a bone, and yeah, most of the times it's not too crazy to come back from it. Like, I've had my collarbone broken, I broke my elbow, I broke both hands. Like, I broke three times, like two times one and one time the other one, my hands. And yeah, just like smaller injuries, which yeah, you put it to rest for a couple weeks and then it's all good and fine. And yeah, one time for sure I had a bigger crash, which I guess everyone knows about. That was when I ruptured my spleen, and that was for sure a different level. And yeah, I'm very glad I had great doctors who helped me immediately, and yeah, that I could recover from that, and most of all, also most of all that I could recover and
Yeah.
go on with everything doing. But also, it was a question mark for me how my return to racing would go, and it did take a long time, and it took me like 1.5 years to basically really get back to where I was before. And yeah, I feel like even after that, it still like took some more time just to build everything back up. So yeah, that was for sure emotional, because my very first race that I won on an international level, again after that accident, after 1.5 years, that was the Olympic Games. So that was very emotional to me on a personal level, just knowing that it was a confirmation that I could race again on the highest level and that I could win again. And it would have been emotional for me if it was a World Cup or if it was a World Championship or whatever it was. But it being the Olympic Games, it was just like everything together. So that was very emotional, and that was like my comeback kind of from that injury. And at the
Yeah.
same time, that was also where I broke my hand 6 weeks before that event. So I had like a double comeback. But yeah, it's all good. It's all fine. It all healed up nice. And right now I'm feeling great and I can do everything I want. And that's what I enjoy so much. It's the thing that makes me sad about an injury is always when you can't go do what you want to do, like ride your bike and go outside and do stuff. So yeah, I really love it that right now I'm healthy. I can do anything I want. It's great. And we keep the ball rolling.
Awesome. Awesome. Before we talk about the Olympics, which I really do want to talk more about, let's talk about challenges. Was there ever a time throughout your career prior to the Olympics where either through injury or just life in general, where you thought, you know what, I'm done with this. I want to quit. I want to do something different.
So in 2016, when I went to my first Olympic Games, where I raced on the road and on the mountain bike, and I finished 8th in the road race and 6th in the mountain bike race. So it was a good experience for me, but at the same time, there was so much stress involved around all that, and expectations and just too much all about the sport. So that's really when, after those Olympic Games, I decided, okay, I want something for my head. I want to have something to think about when I ride my bike that has nothing to do with bikes. So I signed up for university in Zurich. I basically started 1 week after the last World Cup race in 2016, which was
Wow.
in Andorra. I won that race, so that was a nice finish to the season. And then 1 week after that, I went to university and started studying. And yeah, that was amazing. That was just like a different focus. I lived in a flat in Zurich and tried to squeeze in some training after the lectures. And I remember I was riding at like 9 p.m. with lights on through the forest. And it was a very different focus. And I really took a big step back. And I still remember the first team camp we had in 2017 in February with my team. I was so out of shape, so far off everything, because I had taken such a step back, and I had I mean, I had used every single minute I could to ride my bike and to train, but there simply wasn't that much anymore when you do university. So I started very far back, and I remember my first World Cup that year, which was in May, so still 3 months later, so I still had some time to get better. I was 17th in Novo Mesto, and that was my worst ever World Cup result. And I was like, oh, okay. So then that summer when we had like a break, the summer break of university, I had a great summer. I was just home and riding my bike, and I absolutely loved it. I think that was the best summer I've ever had, 2017, because I was just home. Actually, I got injured, so I couldn't go to the World Cup race in Canada in Monsenden. Yeah, that was what happened. I injured my shoulder and couldn't use my shoulder for like 6 weeks. And then I was just home while everyone was racing in Canada, and I had the best summer at home. And then that was the year, that was when I won World Championships in Australia, because I just had such a nice summer, just being home and not traveling and just riding my bike. And I came back to the World Cup in Val di Sole. It was my first World Cup back, and I won that race. And I knew World Championships was 2 weeks later, and I knew I was like perfectly on plan to be in form. And I had an amazing race in Cairns, and I won. So it really, I think, helped me so much to take a step back and have a complete different approach. And after Cairns, I went back to university and did another half year at university. And then eventually in the winter leading up to the 2018 season, that's when I kind of realized, okay, if I keep doing this, I'm really going to be out of shape every single time I come back to the season. So I was like, okay, I've gone to university now for 1.5 years. I enjoyed every moment about it and everything about it. I love to get the experience and really see what it means. But then I was also ready to say again, okay, I want to be a bike racer now, and I want to do the best I can.
Wow. So I think everyone wants to know, were you able to complete your university and get your diploma, or did you choose to stop and just focus on cycling?
Yeah, I never finished it. So I didn't even bother, when you stop university, you can somehow freeze your points, and then you can go back at a later point and start again where you've stopped the last time and continue. And I didn't even freeze my point. I knew I was not gonna come back. I knew it was an experience I absolutely loved and enjoyed to have, but I also knew that if I want to be serious about bike racing, then that does not go together that well. So that's when, I stopped, and I was like, okay, let's go biking.
That's pretty incredible, because society and culture tells us that, once we start something, we have to complete it, or once you go to school, you have to finish it and get your degree or your diploma. So it's really incredible and refreshing to hear that, you were mature enough to have that outlook and that vision that, this just wasn't for me. I've got this other path that I'm going to take, right?
Yeah, and especially in Switzerland, I would say the whole society, how it's structured, everybody expects you to have a job and to go study and to follow a job. Sport is not a career option. It doesn't exist. I have one of my sponsors that I had in Switzerland. He kept asking me still in 2018, 2019, he was like, okay, so what are you gonna do for work? What is your plan? Why you need to do something? You cannot just ride your bike. It's really so built into society that you have to go to school, you have to study. And it's kind of sad because I think sport teaches you so much. It's a life skill. You learn so many life skills on different levels. You learn discipline, you learn to keep something up, you learn to manage yourself. You're basically, as a mountain biker especially, I say maybe it's different still for road cyclists, but as a mountain biker, you're basically a little enterprise. You have all your own personal sponsors that you need to keep in touch with. You have to manage your training, your calendar. It's not just a calendar that your team gives you. You have to think about it yourself. So and no matter what sport you do, no matter if you do road cycling or mountain biking or swimming or running or whatever, I think it's a great school for life. And I think it's an opportunity you only have when you're young. You don't have that opportunity when you're 50 or 60 and you've completed your studies. So that's really the moment where it's the time to go after it. And I also feel like nowadays we have so many options and opportunities to go back into work life at a later point in life. Like you can still do an education later in life too. Like you can still get a degree if you wanted a degree at age 40, or you can still, there's so many open doors. And I felt like it was the right thing to do for me. And I would wish that society moves to a point, especially in Switzerland, where sport is looked at more with is regarded as a career option and as a legit career option, something that is worth aspiring to do. So I hope there would be some change in that aspect.
Yeah. Let's rewind a little bit to the Olympics then, and then we'll change gears again. So your first Olympics, 2016, you did pretty good, but you didn't win. You didn't get on the podium. Did that fuel you then to pursue 2020?
For sure. I mean, I came into these Olympics. I won the overall World Cup, like I said before, in 2014. Then I won it again in 2015. I came into 2016 with, 2 overall World Cup wins. I won the European Championships in 2015. So I had a lot of great results already leading up to that. But at the same time, it was my first Olympic Games, and it's an experience you have to make, I'd say. Yeah. There's so much stuff going on that you can't anticipate and that you almost cannot prepare for. So going there, it was for sure, it was an overwhelming experience. And there is so much stuff going on. So I still had good races, I was still 6th and 8th, but it was not a win. And that's what, for sure, a lot of people expected, or what was kind of anyway. So I think for me, it was really absolutely great that I took a step back after that I went to university, that I just had my head in a complete different place. I had other things to think about. I was not getting sad or worried about that it didn't work out. I had so much homework to do that I didn't have time to think about that. So I think that was absolutely great that I put myself in that situation. That helped me a lot. And then 1.5 years later, 2018, I was ready again to chase my dreams and to go after it. And in that year, I had the World Champs kit, and I won the overall World Cup and the Europeans, and I had a great year. So that made me so happy, and I had such a good environment with Maya across, and it was great. So that kind of really brought back a lot of joy to me those years across. Also 2017, that was just awesome. With Maya and everyone, and winning. So I feel like those 2 years after the Olympics, they really brought a lot of joy back to my racing and training and everything, with taking a step back. And then it was 2019, my first year with track, and then that was already my accident, and then 2020 was COVID. So like recovery, COVID, whatever, and then 2021, were the Olympics in Tokyo, and that was like my comeback.
And it must have been a little bit of a strange experience, right? Because COVID really changed what the Olympics look like. No spectators, just, still COVID protocols in place. That experience must have been completely different than 2016, right?
Yeah, I honestly felt so sorry for all the people, all the athletes whose first Olympics was Tokyo, and they were thinking, this is the Olympics. Like, oh no, it's something completely different. I was like, I felt sorry for them because you cannot even compare, not even close.
Yeah.
And also you have to imagine Brazil. I mean, that's where the people are over like dancing on the streets, even if it's not the Olympics. They are dancing on the street every day. They are just like full of energy, a crazy party everywhere. It was like an insane experience. And then Japan, already the culture itself is so much more respectful and quiet and calm. And then COVID on top of that. So it could not have been any more different, those two experiences. So I did feel a bit sorry for these people. But at the same time, for me, it was great because it was so easy. Like it was like the cows and the craziness and all the overwhelming stuff from Brazil, all of that was just gone and canceled out. And we were just like, it was just our 5 people from the team and nothing else. And I was like, okay, awesome.
just show up and race.
Yeah, so much easier. Like, okay, perfect.
Well, that's amazing. Amazing. Well, Jolanda, you've had an incredible career, and we look forward to a lot of great things from you in the future, including 2024 in Paris, which should be super, super exciting. But before we go, let's talk about some of the things that you do in your community. A major focus of this show, Changing Gears, is celebrating all the things that guests like yourself do on the bike and their achievements and accomplishments, but what they then do off the bike to make this world a better place, whether it's through organizations that you're involved in or programs that you create. Can you tell us a little bit about those types of community efforts that you're involved with?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I want to say I don't do any of that off the bike to talk about it, basically. Like I try to do my best and I try to do whatever I can, but the reason I do it is not to talk about it. I feel like a lot of times you see people do charity things and go do charity stuff only for the reason so that they can talk about it. That like basically, you did something great, but actually the reason why you did it is so that you could talk about it. And that's just where I'm a bit like, I don't know, like I ride my bike because I love it. If that inspires other people, that's great. But I do not ride my bike to inspire other people. I ride my bike because I love it and because it makes me really, really happy. If somebody else feels the same on the bike, that's great. Go ride your bike. Awesome. But that's not the reason why I ride my bike, to inspire others. And that's the same thing with the things I do off the bike. I try to do whatever I can and be involved, with a lot of things. But the reason, I just want to make a point, the reason is not to talk about it. I try to just do it and not even,
Totally get it. Yeah. That's a great perspective, and super, super appreciate and respect that. It's great.
Yeah.
Maybe one last question.
I mean, I can tell you what I do if you want to hear it.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, like, I do those things already for years. Like, so for example, I'm an ambassador for Greenhope, which is Sports Against Cancer. That's a foundation in Switzerland, and they support kids who have cancer through sports. So they invite all the families and the kids, and they go for a family hike, and they give them like times where they really don't have to worry or think about all the stuff that is going on in their life, where they give them like an escape through sport. So I have been an ambassador for that foundation. I want to say for almost 10 years, probably. For a long time. And it's called Greenhope. And there is always a Greenhope Day in spring where you can do an activity by yourself. It's called Made in Switzerland. So you sweat, and it's in Switzerland, made in Switzerland. So Switzerland. So then it's like, they are like collecting money through that. And yeah, I've done like events with them, and that's something I really love. I think it's a great cause, something that connects to me because it's with sports, and it's it's something that I can relate to, because whenever I do sports, I'm also taken away from all the worries and thoughts. So I think it's a really nice cause. And then last year I donated a bike to the Grow Cycling Foundation, which is run by Elliot Jackson. So they did a raffle and collected money through that. So that was really cool. And and then I helped out the Little Bellas a little bit this past year as well, which is run by Leah Davis, and she's a good friend of mine. So like whenever there is like things I can do and help, I do that. And I'm also still involved in our local cycling club, where I go for rides whenever I can. I wouldn't say that's charity. That's something I really personally enjoy a lot too. But I would say I do all these like little things, and I just try to do them. And I think the more you do, the better it is. But the motivation, I feel like, should not be bragging rights. I feel like the motivation should be to do it and to do good, and to help out where you can.
That's great. Yeah, that's an awesome philosophy, and we'll put the links in the show notes when we publish this to all those organizations, because I know personally they're all doing amazing things to help people or inspire people or get people moving, which is the overall goal, right?
That would be awesome. Yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah. My last question then was going to be, I was scrolling through Instagram recently, and I saw you over a downhill bike all muddy. Is that potentially a rumor or something developing there, that there might be a downhill race or two in your future?
Well, I really don't think that I will ever race a downhill World Cup. I think that's like a complete different level. That's those tracks are gnarly and those jumps are massive. And what I did was we had a bike race here there is a new bike park opening up here that was built by Nico Mulali, who's a World Cup racer. And then, Luca and I went there to ride, and there was a race going on the weekend. So, of course, Luca was always going to do the race because it was a downhill race. And I was just here and hanging out, and I was like, okay, if you're doing it, I'm going to do it too. So, like, it was for sure the gnarliest track I've ever ridden in my life. It was, and I only had an enduro bike. I didn't really have a downhill bike. All the pro, they were on downhill bikes. All the other girls were on downhill bikes, and I was there with my enduro bike trying to hold over drops and stuff. So it was definitely a challenge, but it was also, I really enjoyed the parts that I felt comfortable in. Like the corners were super fun, and it was really muddy. It rained all day on Friday, and we went for practice, and it was like so slippery and so muddy. And then still on Saturday, it was incredibly slick and slippery. So that was a part that I really enjoyed, because that's on ground. That's where I felt right at home, and I really had fun with that. And then adding a little bit of jumps in here and there was a good challenge and a good skills training for me. So I really had a lot of fun doing that, and it was great. But I do not think I will compete. It's like, yeah, fun little adventure.
Well, it's definitely making a little buzz on the internet, so you're going to have to answer some questions in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, Jolanda, we are out of time. Sadly, we've got to wrap this up. It's been so great talking to you and hearing your story. I want to thank you for sharing everything, and I wish you all the best in your pursuit of the 2023 season and 2024 Olympics.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for having me, and thanks for all the support. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We'll talk soon. I'll see you at the races.
Thank you, David. Goodbye.
Bye.